All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Love of Business PR Connections podcast radio show. I'm here with Brandon Mills, the owner of Total Promotional Company. Actually, shout out to Brandon because he took care of me with my swag and my shirts. So I truly, truly appreciate it. And we want to say thank you for taking the time. I know a lot of the viewers will get a lot of value out of our conversation today. So I'm excited to learn and introduce you to the PR Connection show, Brendan. So thank you for your time. Brendan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into business?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Looking forward to explaining where I came from and what I'm doing. Yeah, I got into business. I guess early on in high school, I was one of the. I was me and a partner. We started a computer repair business when we were 17.
Wow.
Doing on-site computer repair. So we had no overhead. Living at home with our folks and going to customers' houses and fixing their stuff. Eventually, that company dissolved after we went to college, and then from there we took different paths. Had a international company for a little bit doing speedboat charters in Thailand. That was a nice little break from reality, but once my son was born, I realized, it's no longer about me. So ended up joining the army, and that brought me ultimately to Texas, where I was in the oil industry for a bit. Made a bunch of good money there, and but realized that selling my hours was not the way to go, and it didn't matter how much I was selling my hours for. It was taking my time.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I wanted to then start looking into working for myself. And I kept my eyes open for opportunity and came across a gentleman that was selling his business, another Army veteran who was retiring. And he was doing it the old school way, didn't really have a whole lot of an online presence, doing kind of what he had done for decades. And I thought, you know what, I could take this ball and run with it. And so I bought my business at the end of 2019, December, and 3 months later we had COVID lockdowns. So it's been challenge after challenge, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it's the adversary, right? That the military teaches us. So first and foremost, thank you for your service. But it's that grit that we get from the military that teaches us, even though we are facing a hard time, that we're gonna pull through no matter what. And I think it's the connections that we have, Brandon, that help through that, right? Those relationships that we build, um, even during hard times, things still need to get done. So what made you decide, out of curiosity, to say, hey, I'm in a really good industry where I'm making a lot of money. Yes, it's taking a lot of my time, which most people, that's what we do. We trade time for money. But what made you decide ultimately to say, hey, I'm gonna buy a business. I'm gonna get into entrepreneurship.
A lot of it had to do with the writing on the wall when it came to the economy and
Hmm.
understanding what was going on with inflation and the Federal Reserve, and the way that the country was going. Uh, Understanding that having something of value other than just my time would serve well in times of hardship. Being able to provide. So one of the great things about my specific business is that I can pivot easily to industries that are doing well.
Hmm.
During COVID, a lot of the essential businesses, electric companies and plumbers and things like customers like that, they were doing really really well. So during that time, we served them, and we did a lot of branding and merchandise for those companies during that time. And as other companies, we lost some customers that went out of business, um, but ultimately, able to pivot and adjust to the times that are in front of us, and being able to I guess look for opportunity even when opportunities are bleak is the most important thing that I see. And another thing as well is I didn't want to sell my hours anymore. I wanted to
Hmm.
sell product, and I wanted to buy other people's time.
Mm.
So, I mean, I guess I don't know. I still end up pouring all of my time into the business, but at least with this, I can prioritize my time. So if there's something that my kids are doing, I can take a step back from the business for a minute and go be with them for a while, and then jump right back into it and continue on. So.
Yeah, it's I think you said something really important there with you know, it sounds like to me like you wanted to do this because you wanted to have more of your time back to be able to be there with your kids and your family, which is why a lot of us get into entrepreneurship, right? Like we want our time back so we can do the things that are important to us. So with that being said, Brandon, who would be a ideal target customer for you or client?
Uh, so I have a wide array of types of clients.
Hmm.
We support all sorts of different industries within the business community, but on top of that, we also service sports teams, nonprofits. We do a lot with uh, all sorts of different array. Like, so we have hospitals. Hospitals are great for us.
Mm.
We do a lot of stuff with the police departments. So there's private sector, public sector. There's all sorts of different types of customers. The ideal customers are the ones that are doing a certain degree of volume, but not too much. We kind of have a sweet spot. Uh, I'd say companies that are 10 employees to 200 employees are kind of where our sweet spot is. We can service lower than that and above that as well,
Hmm.
but there's challenges with doing both. For small orders. However, we did just get some new equipment that's going to allow us to service clients that have smaller firms. I recognize that we were leaving a lot of money on the table when it came to not being able to service these clients based on costs, really. For instance, in the screen printing, there's a lot of time that goes into setting up a job, and if you're only doing a couple of shirts, it doesn't make it worth it.
Mm.
And a customer doesn't want to pay $50 for a simple shirt.
Right.
Where so with the new technology we got a digital print process that's going to allow us to service even the solopreneur. So
Mm.
looking to expand our ability to take on more work from stuff that we would have otherwise not been able to do.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the new machinery because I know I've heard you talk about it here in the past, and that is a big game changer for you. So that's awesome that it's up and running, and I'm looking forward to see your business continue to scale as it has been. Now, with the Love of Business podcast, I know part of it we want to inspire other entrepreneurs or other people who are looking to get into business. So, what's been the biggest learning curve since you've started on this journey, Brandon?
Oh, there's so many learning curves, and every time you learn something, you realize that you're just getting started.
Right?
Uh, I mean, if you're looking to get into business, it's one of those things where you just have to dive in head first and realize that when you fail, it's not a failure if it's something that's learned that
Mm.
you learn from, and that you're able to then next time try again a little bit differently than you were doing before. um, so I'd say the biggest learning curve would be being able to adapt to the unknown. There's
Mm.
daily challenges all the time. Things that you would think that could put you under, and there's so many times where I thought, no, there's no way I can keep this thing going, and and then after time passes, you look back and you're like, wow, we've really grown this thing. If you're looking at it right, right in front of you, it seems like a daunting task. But as you continue to drive on, looking back at the hindsight, you can really see how far you've taken it. Like right now, I feel like I'm not even like feel like I'm just getting started. But
Yeah,
but here I am coming on my 3-year anniversary of having this business.
it's amazing.
And the challenges are never ending. So if you definitely have to be a problem solver, because if you're not, it's gonna be tough for you.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go back to what you said is we have to learn to adapt and overcome, right? We have to know how to pivot when times get tough, and obviously you have done that, right? During COVID, you knew exactly how to pivot. You knew who to target. You lost some customers, but you also picked up some customers. So I think that's a very valuable skill set to learn because we don't know the unknown, but as long as we have that clear vision of where we're headed, we know that we're on that right track and we're doing everything in our power, right? And
Right.
doing all the right things and doing all the right activities to get to the end goal and see what that outcome looks like.
So you mentioned that during that time I knew exactly how to pivot and what to do. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I had no idea what I was doing. But
Yeah.
but when you come across a challenge, you try to minimize the risk, even though the risk sometimes is unbelievably high.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, you're going to have to continue forward regardless, and be mission driven. And I think that really ties back to the military mindset as well, where
Right.
you have a mission, you're going to make it happen regardless. And if there's mistakes along the way, you deal with those as they come.
Yeah. Yeah. And in where I meant where you knew where to pivot was in this new technology that you got into, right?
Right.
Most business owners would have waited and let that time go by. You capitalized and took advantage and said, "Hey, I'm going to take this risk. It's either going to be worth it or it's not." And now you know that, hey, this is definitely going to be a game changer in my business. So that's what I meant on the pivot part.
Right. Oh yeah. No,
um,
and that's another thing too is it's a constant trial and error.
mhm.
Uh, if you look at it like a giant lab project, you're constantly testing and
Mm.
seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's gold right there. You have to test and measure to see what is working and know, hey, where am I spending my time on a lot of the stuff we talk about is like the 80/20 rule, right? Where are we focusing our time and what's driving the revenue versus what are we doing as busy work that's consuming our time but is not getting any results.
Correct.
So testing and measuring definitely important. What's lesson number one that you could teach somebody that is getting into business?
Uh, Probably lesson number one is use the resources that you have from your community
Mm,
and within your own networks. There's really no business owners that are on an island to their own. It When you come together as a community and start building your tribe, you start really pulling resources together to drive what you're doing, at the same time helping those others around you as well. So I do believe that the power of the network is crucial to continuing business and to being able to take what you have, learn from others' mistakes, so that you can try to prevent your own. Same, while others can learn from your mistakes, and then the most important thing is you learn from their wins. You learn
mm.
you learn what they're doing and how you can apply those strategies to your own business.
Yeah, big takeaway right there is trust in the network, build those relationships, and don't be scared to ask of, hey, who can help me with this, or hey, here's some of the challenges that I'm having. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls that in the people that I've helped in teaching them the networking ways, right? Networking tactics is we got to learn to move our ego to the side because we never know who we're connected to. And if you
Yeah, you got
surround
to
yourself, yeah.
you've got to
If
allow yourself to be vulnerable.
mhm.
In like you said, moving your ego to the side. Uh, I mean, entrepreneurs can sometimes, get a pretty big head on themselves and allow ego to be a roadblock to where they're trying to go.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. It's just knowing that if you have a good group, right? If you surround yourself with like-minded people, we're all going to challenge each other to that next level of success. So I know you've done that. You have a good network around you. Um, what would you say to someone like yourself, 15 years, like 15, let's say 15 years back, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror? What would you tell yourself as you're getting into business, that you would possibly either change or do the same?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I got to think of where I was 15 years ago now. Uh, so yeah, I'd probably tell myself 15 years ago to always look at what you're doing as potential towards revenue and towards growing.
Mhm.
There's so many distractions out there. There's so many different things you can be doing that doesn't really serve your end goal. Um, there's, I mean, distractions aren't bad so long as they don't overtake what you're ultimately trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people get in this mindset, of the more things they can get, they work their butts off, you know 9 to 5 for a lot of places. I was working 16, 17 hours a day in the oil field,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of cool stuff. It was awesome, but ultimately that stuff really meant nothing. And when I shifted my mindset, that's when everything started to change. So I would say 15 years ago, focus on mindset and come up with goals, short-term goals that lead to the long-term goal.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's very very valuable information. There is we have to consistently set goals, right? I know a lot of what the clients that I coach is we set increments of 90-day goals, and hey, let's take a look at it every 30, 60, 90 and see how we're accomplishing the goals. We have our long-term goals, but what little steps are we taking, and are we rewarding ourselves for the wins that we have, right? Um,
Right.
you mentioned earlier that it is an interesting journey because there's a lot of up and downs on this entrepreneurship journey. But if you have those goals and those little things you're accomplishing, celebrate the wins because it helps with the mindset. Uh,
Yeah.
Now, what's next for you and your company, Brandon?
Well, right now we just moved locations. That's
Congrats.
been thank you. We've really expanded into a nice space, and so right now I want to slow down expansion
Hmm.
and focus on the revenue aspect of it, so that we can get a very solid foundation before we do our next step of growth. I did a 5-year lease at the place I'm at right now. Potentially might be able to take the space that's right next to ours and
Wow.
expand that way. But before I do that, we've really got to dial in our processes and turn this into a well-oiled machine that can run really efficiently, so that then when we grow, it doesn't become catastrophic.
Mm, gotcha. So setting up that plan and knowing that, hey, here's our journey and here's what we're gonna do. I think from the person that I know and you, Brandon, you guys are going to expand. You guys are growing. You've come a long way in these 3 years, and I'm excited to see what's next for you and your company. Which leads to my next question: is like right now we're at the tail end of COVID and we're getting out of it. Um, Along this journey, what have you personally learned about yourself?
Hmm. Uh, that I value freedom.
Hmm.
I value freedom in the sense that as an entrepreneur, during the COVID process, when I say COVID process, I mean the process being the government response to it. Businesses were shut down for no good reason. Children were forced out of schools. People had to wear muzzles over their mouth, and it was a very insane time.
Hmm.
Um, what I learned during all of that is that you have to take responsibility for yourself. There's not going to be a government there to help you, uh, despite what they might say and offer. It definitely is. You find your tribe and you carry forward. During the lockdowns, I did not lock down at all, not at
Hmm.
all. In fact, that's when I went out and found other entrepreneurs that couldn't shut down their businesses either. We we were like, there's no way. I mean, you can't take, there's generational businesses that are told to close and have completely destroyed them. I mean,
Yeah.
if the government wasn't here, we would be just fine. Only because we would be serving each other and we'd be serving ourselves. And there doesn't have to be a nanny state uh, trying to tell everybody what to do and what they'll offer them if they listen.
Yeah.
Um, during that time, I ran for state senate as well to tell my story of how government affected not only my business, but the businesses that I served and the ones that are in our community. So it's super important for a community to have a thriving economy, and putting any kind of barriers in front of that economy definitely does not serve the people in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway I got there is what you learned about yourself is almost it's similar to why you got into business, right? You wanted your time, you wanted your freedom, you wanted to make it a change, which is why you decided to run, for state senate, right? Was you saw that there's something that needs to be changed, and for us, it's just like in business, and out there on the political side is if we want to see true change, we have to step up, right?
That's right, 100%.
We have to be the new wave and the new voice, to make the difference. So I've learned that about myself. Also, is how it affected the business I was in before with wealth management, and I had a good business, I had a good run, but ultimately I followed my passion in teaching people to network, the skill set that needs to be taught, and it leads to massive results, for sure. Nurturing and building those relationships. Now, for you, Brandon, and your company, are there any exclusive offers that you're currently offering for people who are looking to connect with you? And what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Exclusive offers. Well, if it's exclusive, I wouldn't be telling everybody about it. Um, but but the new technology, the fulfillment side of it, that's going to be the newest thing that we're going to be offering.
Yeah.
For the exclusive offers for select clients, we'll be able to take on fulfillment for either clothing brands or online stores for companies, being able to create items in low quantities on demand as people order them. We have a website that ties everything into our fulfillment, into our shop management software, and streamlines everything so that my customers can sell to their clients much easier, all while making a commission on those products.
Mm.
So that will be the exclusive offer. That's not something I'm going to do for everybody.
Right.
That's going to be a meeting that I'll have with those that I think will work well together. Um, it'll be it'll have to be a certain type of business and a certain type of person that will be able to benefit from those from that new technology.
Yep. Yep. So that's good. And what's the best way for people to connect with you that want to get a hold of you and want, to hire you for your services?
Sure. You can go to my website, www.totalpromotioncompany.com. You can also send me an email at brandon@totalpromotioncompany.com. And you can look us up on Google. We've all of our contact information, our address, everything is listed there. And yeah, we'd love to get a hold of you or get a hold of each other and see how we can work together. There's a lot of things happening, and together we can make it work.
Yeah, city's growing. There's a lot of great things happening in our community. We're all excited. So is there anything else you want to share with anyone as we can wrap up today, Brandon?
Sure. Yeah, I want to everybody to know that despite the hard times and the things coming, we're gonna thrive. We're gonna take what we got, and we're gonna succeed. And only because there's no other option. This is what we have to do. So
This is the way, right? Well, Brandon, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the Love of Business PR Connections podcast. And I am your host of the show. So we will look forward to connecting in the future. Thank you again, Brandon. And thanks everybody for watching.
all right, take care. Thank you. Thanks for having me.